Okay, so how do I explain what Neon White is? It's a first person shooter platformer deck building game about speedrunning. It's a lot, so let me explain. You play as Neon White, who died and was sent to hell, but he's given a second chance by competing in a tournament where he has to kill as many demons as possible, as fast as possible, and if he wins, he can go to heaven. So the gameplay has you running through a level at a blistering pace, and you have to kill a certain number of demons before you get to the end to move on. While you do gather cards which represent weapons like pistols, assault rifles, etc., I wouldn't exactly call it a card game, because you're moving at such a quick pace through the levels, you'd have missed a pistol laying on the ground. So instead, they're represented by giant floating colored cards like a yellow card for a pistol, purple for assault rifle, etc. It makes it easier to see what you're getting without having to stop moving, and this game's all about speed and constant forward motion. It's one of those games where you'll never take your finger off the W key. The only card game feeling thing is that weapons have a what's called a burn ability, which give you more movement options. Like the pistol gives you a double jump, and the SMG gives you a ground slam that can send you plummeting off a ledge at high speed, things like that. But burn abilities destroy the weapon, even if it has full ammo. These burn abilities were far more important than shooting things. Weapons do different damage, and some are more accurate than others, but it's literally impossible to beat the level without careful use of the burn abilities. By the end of the game, I viewed weapons less by their offensive capabilities and more by their movement. The floating yellow card with a pistol on it wasn't a pistol in my eyes, it was a double jump. The rifle wasn't a rifle, it was a dash, perfect for clearing that gap. And there's a fair number of weapons too, all with their own burn abilities. And it doesn't take long before the game is having you swap between shooting, burning a card, swapping to a new card, burning that so you can get to the right angle to shoot a few more unlucky demons, all while you're speeding through the level, never stopping. On top of all the weapons that the game is steadily introducing to you, the game is regularly introducing new enemies as well that manage to somehow all feel different despite all being stationary. You got big tanky guys that fire a string of slow moving shots, others lock onto you and can one shot you if you don't kill them or get out of the way in time. You have these floating enemies that you can use as platforms. You deal with all of them in slightly different ways, like you don't want to shoot the floating enemies because you often need to jump off them to get through the level, and they die when you jump on them anyways. Whereas the guys who lock on and can one shot you sound like you'd want to kill them as fast as possible, but it takes time for them to lock on, time you can use to grab different weapons or deal with other more dangerous enemies before turning your attention to them. On top of all the enemies, the game's constantly introducing new environmental hazards as well, some of which have multiple functions. Explosive barrels can be used to kill nearby enemies, but the blast wave can also launch you up or across gaps if you're close enough. This can help you go faster if you know how to use them, or slower because it could launch you backwards if you're not careful. There's also breakable platforms that are dangerous because you can't stand on them for very long, but if there's a tough enemy on one, you can just shoot the platform and watch them fall to their death. The game is constantly introducing these new mechanics, so it never feels old, never gets repetitive, and it combines all of them, asking you to know and master all of them. It introduces them at a steady pace, though. It gives you enough time with a new mechanic to learn it thoroughly, slowly increasing the complexity around it and slowly pairing it with other mechanics that never felt overwhelming. It was so good at just teaching these things to you that sometimes you didn't even realize that you learned something new, let alone the fact that you're now juggling it with everything else seamlessly. The game uses all of these mechanics to get you to go fast. Most levels can be beaten in like 30 seconds, a minute at most. Realistically, it'll take you much longer because you'll be dying and resetting a lot, which is not a big deal because load times on reset are almost non existent, and just one tap of the F button to pay respects to your old run, making it easy and less frustrating to restart. Your time is ranked from bronze, silver, and gold medals, and ace medals are the highest reward. Gold is relatively simple to get, you just have to go through the path the game lays out for you quickly and efficiently. But to get ace medals, you need to find shortcuts, which are not clearly defined. They're not neat little tunnels that'll take you to the end of the level, they're more like gaps that don't look like you can jump over, but you can, or require creative use of the environment and burn abilities. That sounds like something most people aren't going to engage with, but that's where the game gets really clever. As you complete levels, you get insight, which unlocks things for that level. The better the medal, the more insight you get. It'll unlock things like gifts will appear around the level that you can collect and give to NPCs, or global leaderboards. Gold medals give you enough for a hint. These hints show you the shortcuts. If you replay a level after getting enough insight, you'll see a hand floating somewhere around the level, indicating that there's a shortcut there. It doesn't give away everything. You might have to just jump over the gap. You may need to make clever use of burn abilities to jump over a wall, and shortcuts often skip over enemies, so you may have to find creative ways to kill those demons. But you know it's there, and if you master it, getting that ace medal is easy. It's such a clever way to both reward good players by giving them a way to engage with the game in a way they wouldn't have thought, and spark that speedrunner way of thinking for the average person. Later in the game, I actually got a few ace medals without the hint, because the game had taught me what those shortcuts looked like. This game will make speedrunners, mark my words. If I can get through levels in 30 seconds, speedrunning is going to be insane. I can't wait to see what the community does with this game. I also think it's clever global leaderboards are locked off until you get at least a silver medal. Like, how many times have you played a game with a leaderboard, thought you did really well, only to check global and find out you're like number 200,000 down on the leaderboard? It's not hard to unlock global, and this way when you do, you probably have at least a decent time. You can also find these gifts scattered throughout the levels. There's one per level, they don't appear right away, and you have to play the level at least once before you can even see them. And the level ends as soon as you pick it up, so you don't have to worry about going fast or killing all the demons. Instead, these gifts were more like puzzles that reward you for paying attention and understanding the game's mechanics. Some of them are pretty difficult to get too. For example, one was hidden under the level, so to get it I had to make sure I had both a pistol for its double jump and a rifle for its dash. I then had to jump off the ledge, use the double jump to get under the bridge, and enough height to dash into the gift to grab it. Another one required me to cross a large distance with the dash, but I also needed a double jump, so I had to run through the level gathering as many rifle cards as I could, then had to find a vending machine which would drop pistol cards, then backtrack through some of the level and carefully time my dashes to get to the building with the gift, and then use the double jump to get on the ledge with the gift. So they're not easy to find, and require a good understanding of both the game's mechanics and the level to get it. So it kind of makes sense that they require you to complete the level at least once before they even appear. Finding them was a nice change of pace though, because you don't have to worry about getting the fastest time or missing that one demon. I often found myself diving right back into a level to grab them, almost like a palate cleanser before the next level. But what do you do with them? Well, you give them to the NPCs of course, which unlock side quests themed around the side character. So in one character side quest, you can't use burn abilities because he's a big lovable dummy, so weapons only serve one purpose for him, shooting. Each of these side quests require you to master one specific part of the gameplay. So one guy is all about shooting, another is covered in spikes and traps, so you need to be good at platforming, and the last one is all about using burn abilities to their fullest extent, which in turn prepare you for the main missions that required all of those skills in tandem. You don't have to worry about going fast in side quests either, they were just fun puzzles to figure out, and I often found myself immediately jumping back into a level to find one. Gifts also unlock new dialogue with that character, giving more backstory and personality to them, and the main character, which brings me to the game's story. It's very anime, and not like the good kind of anime like Mob Psycho 100 or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, but the trashy kind of anime like the entire isekai genre. The whole story is basically one big tournament arc where you're a sinner who was brought up from hell to kill demons, and whoever kills the most and the fastest gets to live in heaven. The characters are all that anime trope where they're all defined by one personality trait taken to the extreme. You got Himbo.
Yo, White, bro! It's me! Yellow! It has been a minute, man!
Femme Fatale.
Whoa.
Demon Zero, Red 100. Long time no see, White.
And Psycho Girl.
You'd protect me if it came back, though, right?
Sorry, I got a boat to catch. You're on your own, kid.
You know how I feel about being called kid, White.
The main character even has a healthy dose of amnesia to round out the tropes. And despite everyone knowing who the main character is, and many being friends with him when they were alive, he for some reason never just sits down and asks them to tell him about his past. None of them are particularly memorable, and you'll probably see every twist coming a mile away. The story is not necessarily good, but it also never takes itself too seriously. It knows what it is, and it has some fun with it. It knows it's kind of trashy, and by the end it kind of had a certain charm to it. It's not something I would write home about, but I enjoyed it enough. I never dreaded any of the story moments, and I did find myself finding all the gifts to get more backstory on the side characters. But your enjoyment of the story will depend heavily on your tolerance for all those anime tropes. I watch a fair amount, so I'm pretty forgiving. Your mileage may vary. Neon White is some of the most fun I've had with the game all year. More than Sifu, more than Rogue Legacy 2, and in some ways, more than Elden Ring. Is it better than Elden Ring? Can Neon White usurp Elden Ring as the frontrunner for Game of the Year? Will it be a three-way race between Elden Ring, God of War, and Neon White? No, probably not, to put it bluntly. Game of the Year tends to go to the dark and gritty third-person action games with an emphasis on story. FromSoft games are kind of the outlier in that. And Neon White isn't the slow, introspective indie darling, but it's such a fun game. It has some of the best shooting, silky smooth movement, and incredible level design, and a pretty cool art style. It may not win many awards, but the developer Angel Max should be damn proud of making one of the best games of the year. You can buy Neon White on Steam and Nintendo Switch for $22 US, or your country's equivalent, and if you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Have a good one.